Hi, I'm Jose Anunciato, and you're watching the WebDev channel.
All right, so up to this point, we have been rendering static content. Even the parameterized was static, right? We're passing a static string. Okay. Ideally, we would be going out to the server, right, asking for a list of modules. Yes. And once we have the list of modules, then we would just iterate over them and dynamically render them, right? In jQuery, we would do a fetch. When we get the object, we would like we're listing the list of users, right? We'll be cloning perhaps a template, right, and then parameterize that and adding it to the DOM. Here we need to do something similar. We need to go out to the server and then somehow dynamically, right, add things to the DOM. All right, so let's take a look at how we can do that. All right, so right now we have a component that I believe we had created a module list that statically rendered several modules. Okay, I think we had done that. Oh, okay, this is the solution. Wait a minute. Let me play around with this just a second. So here's index. Am I using module list at all? I am. Okay. So let me implement a brand new one. Do we have a module list item? We do. Okay. Notice the module list item has been changed a bit. Notice that the module list item from yesterday. Notice that has been changed in that instead of rendering a hard-coded string for the name of the module, okay, notice that now it takes it as an argument, right? In the properties, right? Now it has a constructor. You can pass it properties, and one of the properties we're passing into it is the object called module, right? So in the properties, somebody has passed us a module object. See that? And presumably that module object has an attribute called title in it. See that? So somebody has passed this onto us. So let's see how we would use it. Let's see how we could use it. If we go into our index page. Also, one thing, when you render, all these render functions can only take as argument the HTML that you give it to render has to be a single element. Right? It has to be a single element. So what if you want to render more than one element? Well, you can wrap them into a div. It's still one element, right? And in here you can put other things. You could say you can render here now maybe a module list item, right? Module list item, and presumably we can pass it. We can say maybe the title. So this is the React module. Okay, so we're passing it as an argument. So in the what is it complaining about? Oh, the comma. The comma is in the wrong place. It would be right here, comma. Right, and the list module. Now in the list module, right now I don't have a way to pass a module object. We don't know how to do that yet. So instead, I'm just going to remove this. Let's see if that renders. Yeah, there it is. So it rendered as a React module. There it is. So that React module, notice that it's a list. See that? Right? And we can generate a whole bunch of them, right? We can say there's a React module. Where is it? Let's add another one. It might be next week we'll do Redux. The following week we'll do React Native. So we have lots of modules, lots of topics to cover. There we have several modules, right? The module list that we're using, and we're just passing a hard-coded list of modules. Yes, all right. Okay. Instead let's put this inside a module list. But I already solved it here. Let me show you how I solved it. I'm going to create a brand new one so I can show you. So this is, I'm going to do file, module list 2. How's that? Okay, and in here, We can create a brand new component, import React from React, and let's import the module list. Module list from where? From, let's see, let's go up one. Let's go up one down to components, and we have module list, don't we? Module list item. There we go. And we're going to render it here. We're going to say module list to the class extends React component, right? That that's going to render. It's going to render a whole bunch of module list items, right? So let's import that module list item. Okay, and it's going to render here module list item, and the title is going to be. Let me copy it from here. Right, we had it right there. So let's remove it from here. Let's move it over here. There we go. Oh, they need to be in a div, right? All render functions can only take as argument a single element, so you can't. You need to group them together inside of a div, right? All right, so we have module list 2. And we're going to export it. Export, if I could type. Export into the default package, module list 2. There we go. Now that we exported in index, we can just load it, right? We can say load the list 2 from containers / module 2. There we go, right? And then we can just load it here. So we can say module list 2, and that would render. Oops. Your render method should have a return statement. Oh, I didn't have a return statement? Okay, this should be return parentheses, and then put this inside here. There we go. Let's try it again. There it is. Okay. Let's also make sure we add some class here. Let's do some class name container fluids to add some padding on either side. All right, so there we go. So we have these they can take as argument the title of the module, right? We know how to do that already. That's not different. But what we would like to be able to do now is that we want this to be dynamic, right? We don't want this to be hard-coded, right? They're parameterized at least, right? But we want this somehow to be like in a loop, and then iterate or for loop, right, of objects that perhaps we got from a database. Yes. All right. So how do we do that? All right. So what we could do is as follows. Right. So yeah, right now it's just hard coded. Right. We have just a whole bunch of modules. We parameterize it. So here's us parameterizing it. This .props.title. There it is. See that? And now we can pass in parameters and renders now dynamically. So we have that already. Yes, we have that. But how about what we'd like to be able to do is also introduce to the fact that a component can have state. It can remember things. It can store data. Right. So here it is in the constructor. We can declare a state object. Right. And associate any arbitrary object. In this case, we are declaring an object whose attribute is modules. And modules is an array of objects. Yes? Right. So let's grab that. Let's do that. Let's declare in the constructor of module list. Let's declare a constructor. Let's just copy that. Right here in the module list, I'm just going to paste it in there. Oops, I didn't copy. Copy. There you go. All right. And it's here and it's there. Okay, we have a constructor that is declaring the data as part of the state. It's saying this dot state, and that's the state of the object of the component. The component has this state. Everybody okay? Right. So what we would like to be able to do is that instead of having this hard-coded list of list items, we'd like to be able to iterate over this and dynamically generate these lists of module items. So how do we do that? So what we can do is declare here a function, right, that will iterate over this, right, and build for us the content, right, and we're going to call it render list of modules. Render list of modules. That's an appropriate name. So let's declare the function, and whatever this function returns, that's what we want to render. Yes. Yes. Still hard coding. Well, at least as an array we can iterate over. The next thing we have to do is fetch it from the database, right? Which we haven't done yet. Okay. But yes, good catch, right? So let's see. Let's learn how to dynamically generate this, right? So we're gonna declare a local variable modules. That's going to be the result of having calculated what this list of modules is, right? So for instance, I could put in here this div right here. I can just copy this, remove it from here, and just paste it here, and I can just return modules. Okay, still static, but at least I'm just introducing you to the fact that it can be a function that does this, and whatever it returns, then I can use it. Yes?
Why did you use what instead of var?
So there's several other versions in the new version of JavaScript. There's constants, right? There's let, there's var. I think there's one more, I forget. And so var has a different behavior on closures, on when you treat when you use the point to this, right? And it has different interpretation, right? And what context is a variable declared on. So the context that we're going to use it right now, we'll show you in a minute. It has the modules would still be available inside of the function declaration, right? Which would not be if it would be a var. Right. So let me show you how it would render. Okay. Notice that it's still static. There's no difference here. It's still static. But I just want to show you that I can return that content and refer to it here. We can just refer to it here. We can say this dot render list of modules. Oops. Render list of modules. What are you complaining about? Does it need to be a div? Okay, let me. Oh, I think it wants a div here. Right, it wanted some elements. So let me change that. Oh, a div within a div doesn't hurt. Okay, notice that it renders the same. Okay, it renders exactly the same. Just make sure. Let me just copy and paste one of these. Just make sure that it is indeed Angular. Yeah, so it's rendering the same, right? The same way. But notice, I just want to point out the fact that we can delegate rendering to another function, calculate whatever we want, right? And then return that and use it as an output for rendering. All right, so instead of hard coding this, what we're going to do is that we're going to iterate over our list of our array of modules. Yes, we're going to say grab the state. On the state there is an object called modules. So modules, and what you're going to do is that you can iterate over that array, and for each one, I want to render an individual module list item, right? So we're not going to use for each. Instead, we're going to use map. Okay, so map, what it does is that it still iterates, right? But it accumulates a result as it goes, right? It accumulates the result from previously, and then at the end, it returns the entire concatenated result, right? So map takes as argument a function that you get it uses to pass you each individual element as it iterates over the array. All right, so this would be a module object. So it's iterating over all the modules, and as it iterates, is going to pass me each individual module. Yes? Okay. And what do I want to accumulate? I want to accumulate a module list item, right? One module list item, then another module list item, then another module list item. But the difference is that each one will have a different title. It'll be the title in the module object, in the current module object that I'm iterating over, right? So I'm going to return module list item whose title is, could be hard-coded, we could hard-code it, right? And notice that they're all hard-coded, right? They're all hard-coded. But that's not what I want, right? We want it to be dynamic. Instead, what we want is, instead, we're going to pass a reference to module.title. And notice that now it dynamically renders, right, the titles from that array. Right? Ideally, this array, we would have gotten it from the server. We don't have that yet, right? We'll do that next. So yeah, there you go. So we have it dynamic. We are probably getting a complaint from React. It probably is complaining that that each DOM element, there's no way for it to identify, to uniquely identify it. Right? React, to be able to optimize the way it works with the DOM, it needs to be able to uniquely identify each DOM element, right? So that it can do some optimization. So it's suggesting that each one of these elements, you uniquely identify them with a unique key, okay? And the key could be whatever you want. In our case, it could be the ID, right? A unique identifier, which happens to be also, one of the fields that we're going to retrieve from the database, right? So we could use here module.id as our unique identifier, and now it renders, and React is not complaining anymore. Does that make sense? All right. All right. So the last part is well, how do we fetch this from the server, right? Ideally, this is all coming from the server. We don't have any part of we haven't done anything on the server side to allow us to do any of this, right? So let's take a look at that a little later. Before we do that, I like to see we need to be able to create these things, right? Create a module, create a new course. For that, we need some kind of form, and some button that we can click, right? So let's see how we can handle that next.
I hope you've enjoyed the video. Please subscribe, like the video, and share it. Thanks.